Hi folks, Rod Bender here. I've been saltwater fly fishing most of my adult life. I've fished with some of the finest fishermen in the world and some of the best guides available. I've learned an awful lot from these people, and I'd like to share some of that information with you. So come along with me and let's have some fun. Hi folks, Rod Bender here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how fly line works and how it delivers the lure to the target. Most of you started out when you were kids with a little Snoopy rod, or maybe a little older you got a Zebco rod. But basically the same thing with both of those fishing rods and reels. They delivered the lure by use of casting a monofilament line. Something like this, very, very light, extremely delicate. Or now, today, we have even lighter line, this braided line. It's been developed to a point where 20-pound braided line is a diameter of 2-pound monofilament practically. So what do we need to get this lure out there, to bring this line out to where we can retrieve it and attract a fish? We need a heavy lure. Something like a plug, maybe a rubber bait, a spoon. It has weight. It's got considerable weight. It'll take this very light line and pull it out to the target. With fly line, it's much different. The flies weigh nothing. Here's a typical fly. It's a little shrimp imitation that we use down here in Florida. It weighs nothing, just a little bit of fluff, craft fur, a dab of deer hair. If I weighed 300 pounds, if I threw this thing as hard as I wanted to, or I couldn't throw it 5 feet. So what do we need? We need weight. This is our weight with spinning gear and monofilament and braided line. This is our weight with fly line. This is an extra spool I have. There's a monofilament leader or a fluorocarbon leader. Lengths differ depending on what you want to accomplish. But basically, if you look, this line is very, very large. It's very heavy. This fly line has weight. As a matter of fact, fly lines are rated by how many grains of weight they have. What we do is we use pretty much the same mechanics and physics to bend a rod, to load a rod so that we can throw a lure. But with a fly line, we're throwing the line. We're actually unrolling the line in the air, and it carries the fly with it. Just the opposite of spinning gear with monofilament, fluorocarbon, or braid. We cast the lure, and the lure carries the line. With a fly, the fly line carries the fly. When choosing a monofilament or a braid for fishing, we choose it depending on its breakage point. If you're fishing for little bluegills or freshwater, you may only need a 4-pound test line, or little trout, a 2-pound test line. But you get to saltwater, most of these fish are pretty rugged. You get up into 10, 12, 15, 20, 30-pound or bigger. So we buy monofilament, fluorocarbon, and braid depending upon what kind of fishing we're going to be doing by poundage rating, the poundage that it will break at. With a fly line, most all fly lines have the same breakage point as far as the line is concerned. They're expensive lines. You don't want to break your fly lines. And what we do is we attach monofilament or fluorocarbon to our end of our fly line, and that's a leader. And that tapers down to where we tie our fly on the end, and that, again, just like with the spinning line or the braid, is determined by the type of fish that we're going after. So you can put a 2-pound test tippet on the end of your fly line if you like, or you can put a 100-pound breakage tippet if you're going after tarpon and you need something to take all that abrasion. You just attach it to the end of the fly line. The fly line has the same breakage point pretty much, but you can change what happens at the end according to what you're fishing for. A general rule of thumb in tying fly line leaders for saltwater is the butt section of the leader. That would be the first section of leader that attaches to the fly line, is about 5 times the weight of the line. This is an 8-weight line. 5 times 8 is 40. My first piece of butt section would be 40-pound test. The whole butt section would be 5 feet long. An average leader being about 7.5 feet. All you need to do to get the fly away from the heavy fly line so it doesn't spook a fish. The first section being 5 feet, we're going to take 3 feet of 40-pound test, tie a loop in one end. Then we're going to take a 2-foot piece of 30-pound test, and we're going to do a connection between a 30 and a 40. You can use what you like. I highly recommend a blood knot because, as you can see from this knot, it's very, very small, very low key, and it's tied properly. You can clip it extremely close. Therefore, it does not catch eelgrass, debris in the water, things like that. I'll leave tying the knots or learning to tie that particular knot up to you. There are plenty of videos that are set up on the internet that are done by experts. They're very, very well done. So I won't get into how to tie the knot, but use a double uni knot, a blood knot, something like that to attach a 3-foot piece of 40-pound to a 2-foot piece of 30-pound. At the other end of the 30-pound, you would tie another loop. All right, this is the style of loop that I like to use on the end of my fly lines. It's doubled over, tied with tying thread off a fly tying bobbin, and in 25-30 years of fly fishing saltwater with this, I have never had one come loose. Alright, now I'm going to show you the proper way to do a loop-to-loop connection. You always take the larger diameter and pass it through the loop of the smaller diameter line. In this case, the fly line would go through the perfection loop on my butt section of leader. You take the other end of that tippet and pass it through the loop and then pull through. You pull the whole leader through. Now when they come together, they should form this type of interlock. Then we take a piece of tippet material, whatever we'd like to use for tippet. In saltwater, I prefer most of the time fishing for snook, redfish. Up north in New England, I fish for a lot of striped bass. We use 20-pound tests. These fish will rub you against the bottom, they'll rub you against the rocks, and so 8-10-pound test is not a very good thing. You're not fishing for bonefish that are running on sand flats. So we need to beef up the tippet material. 2.5-foot piece with a loop in it, do a loop-to-loop connection with the end of your butt section, and at the other end you tie a fly. When it gets down to 6-8 inches left before you get to the loop connection again, you just take that piece off, take another 2.5-foot piece of tippet material, tie a loop in it, make another loop-to-loop connection with your 30-pound test, and you're off and running. Enjoy.